My name's Dale Verran. I'm CEO for Fortune Bay Corp. We're an exploration and development company listed on the TSXV under the symbol FOR and in Frankfurt under the symbol 5QN. We focused in Saskatchewan, where we have our Goldfields flagship asset that has a current mineral resource and recently announced a PEA with results expected in early Q4 of this year. On the doorstep of our Goldfields project, we also have two uranium exploration projects with the potential for high grades associated with the Athabasca Basin. We've brought those projects through geophysics and about to start drilling on those through the summer months. Lots ahead of us in 2022, and we fully funded for all our activities.
Good to see you here. We've not met, have we? So it's like we were trying to work out whether who'd be the tallest. You won. So you're here for one-to-one, you're meeting investors and so forth. Going well next door?
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of investors there and busy schedule, so it's really good to be there and meeting people in person for sure.
Yeah, they do a good event actually, those guys, so I like that. Hey, we spoke back in March. Okay. Yeah. We spoke about the uranium component, and I kind of want to start off there. Okay. I like the uranium component for you, and I like it the broader thesis as well. So you're about to commence work there. So what have you been doing since we spoke in March that we found interesting?
So on the uranium side, we've been doing geophysics. Our projects came with a lot of data sets, historical data sets, but obviously we spotted like key opportunities to chase this Athabasca Basin model there. It hadn't done before. The area has a huge uranium endowment. So what we've been doing is through the winter months, we're doing geophysics and particularly gravity, ground gravity. And that's really useful because when Arrow deposit was found by NextGen, that was found on a gravity low on an EM conductor. We have those EM conductors, so we were doing the gravity, and we announced some initial drill targets recently showing discrete gravity lows on those EM conductors. So we've now reached a point on our Strike Uranium project where we are about to start drilling. So we've generated some good targets there. On the other uranium project at Murmac, we did a VTEM survey to get some modern EM data, and we're continuing gravity on that project through the early summer here and are looking to drill that later in the summer. So we're drill testing both projects through the summer. These are our maiden drilling campaigns, so really excited to get started on this.
Absolutely, and you kind of timed the raise quite well. Because I think if people are going out now, there'd be calls of dilution and so forth and protests in the streets, I suspect. So that's great. But have you adapted your thinking in terms of how you deploy that capital given the markets at the moment?
Yeah, we did a really good raise back in December. We raised almost $7 million, some of that in flow through and hard dollars. So we're really well funded for this year, and we developed a set of plans. And we're following through those plans. We have the cash to do that, and we believe in, despite the current market over the last few weeks, certainly on the uranium side, the fundamentals remain incredibly strong. And I think an explorer going out in the Athabasca today, coming up with a discovery, is going to get a lot of market attention. For sure.
But let's stay with the market stuff first, okay? Because you've got to have a view on what the market conditions are doing for you. And it's kind of complicated for you because you've got gold and you've got uranium. And you're obviously a junior explorer, that's a 20, 25 million market cap level. So there's a lot of moving parts there in terms of how you approach deployment of capital. So you've said it's going to be business as usual. Right. Okay.
Yeah, we believe some good results through this year. With the upside on the uranium drilling, plus we've got that PEA underway. That's a great backstop for us. We know that can deliver some good results. So we've got enough there that despite, whichever commodity, how they perform through the year, we've got that optionality in the company and believe we have the ability to continue to raise money for 2023.
Kind of phrase this right, because look, you Mexico didn't kind of pan out the way that you'd hoped, and it's some difficulties at a local level there. And you said to me last time out, okay, we're going to look at what we do with that. There's some value there, right? But it's not going to be a focus for us right now. It wouldn't make sense for you, right? You've kind of got the gold component, despite your uranium background. You've got this gold component, which is now going to launch into kind of PEA phase because you think that could be a catalyst for you. So the market can recognize or put some economics to what it is that you've got. Right. So what do you think that needs to look like? And what's the timing of the delivery of that?
The PEA early Q4. This year we're expecting results.
Okay. But what do you think it needs to look like?
Well, I think it's got to, there's a lot of junior projects out there in Canada, a lot of peers out there, and I think we got to get, to some of those levels to show, our market cap is just 20 million. Yeah. Bring it up to a level where we can show how much value there is in the project and work it up to, to a much higher NPV than obviously historical PFSs. Yeah. Historical PFS that was done at a much lower gold price.
Okay, but to what ends, right? Because you've got your gold, you've got your uranium, and I'm thinking of you guys with your uranium background, I mean, blue chip all the way, is focus on a commodity better than trying to be all things to all men, or can you manage both? So what do you do with the gold project when you've done the PEA?
So with the gold project, we believe Goldfields has what it needs to go the distance. We're in a better price environment. It's got infrastructure, roads, power. It has a valid development permit in place. So our job there is to really de-risk that, through a PEA where we're going to optimize the development path, and then we'll look toward a PFS and feasibility and toward a construction decision there. We're at the stage of the project where we can certainly manage that, and we have the funds in place to manage that. And obviously, it's all given the result. So we will treat that in a staged manner and continue to advance it. And because we've got an operational base set up in Uranium City, which services that gold project, it's quite easy to also carry on with the uranium exploration with our team.
Okay, I guess the agility of thinking in terms of we'll see what happens with the PEA, try and understand a little bit better, and then we can work out what we do with it. But it sounds like you're quite keen to take through the phases, but that needs funding, right? I know you're fine for now.
Yeah.
But at some point, you need to go and raise capital. So the PEA is going to have to do a job for you in terms of the market, because you're already 85% retail, right? So you need to get them excited about the potential there. Because gold price has been high. There's this kind of divergence between gold metal price equities across the board, not just you guys, but across the board. It gets expensive to raise capital for another project which you may not like as much as the uranium project. So
well, and that's part of the reasons for the PEA is really it allows us to optimize the development. We don't have all the data to support a PFS yet in terms of where we want to take it. And the PEA, given our market cap now, $20 million, we believe the PEA results have the ability to give us a uptick in our share price and market cap, which will allow us to raise more money for a more expensive PFS. They also require some additional data collection from drilling and metallurgy work. So we see the staged approach as a sensible way to go, and in terms of managing dilution for shareholders.
Okay, but if I look at the market and the amount of companies putting out PEAs, and they're sitting with a million ounces or so, whatever grade that you want to put against that, not getting the reaction that the management team expect. I guess it's always been thus a little bit, but if it doesn't deliver for you on that front in terms of reaction to the market, what are the options available to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a tough position to be in. We don't believe we'll be in that position. I mean, with the assets we have, both gold and uranium, and where our market cap is, we see this unlocking value. If you look at our peers in the space and their projects, the NPV of PEAs and where they trade in terms of market cap, we think we've got a lot of upside there. So we're going to put our heads down and do the best job possible with the PEA and deliver results. And we'll really show the market in today's terms what the project's worth. And we believe that's going to be a catalyst for the company.
But isn't that the trouble with PEAs? There's plus or minus 30%, 40%, whatever you want to put on it, right? The economics are so vague that there's no kind of... It just shows what the project could be, right? Here's what it could be.
Sure.
Right? So that number would need to look like what to excite the market, in your opinion? Is it a case of it needs to show scale, or do the economics really matter at PEA stage? And I've got to come back to it. It's like, what do you do if it doesn't work out? And I know you think it will.
Yeah.
Everyone does, right?
Yeah, sure.
But you've got to have contingencies in place, plan B, C, D, and E, right? Is it a spin out? Is it a farm out? Is it, we'll raise money at any cost because it won't matter further down the line if we can move it through the stages. So what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, those are, spin out, farm out, sale of the asset are, of course, options. If we can deliver a PEA which is going to show the value in today's terms, there could be some good options. We know there's gold miners out there looking for new projects, especially in good jurisdictions. So we believe that's it will create some paths for us if we can deliver that PEA. But we feel really important to get to that stage. And obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen in the long term. But that's what's nice being positioned the way we are, where we have that diversification, that optionality to switch to uranium, where we'll be drilling this year. And with some good results from the drilling side, there could be an opportunity there for us to focus more on should the gold market take a turn for the worse.
Right. Okay. Let's look at uranium a bit, and then we can cross borders after that. Okay. So you team, great track record. We were talking about some of the stuff you're doing in Namibia previously, and Fission and Denison and so forth, right? So the track record's there, so the market institutions know you for that. You've got nice little assets up here, right? You're going to start the process, did you say next week? Was it next week?
We're about to start drilling, yes.
Right, okay, so that's exciting, right?
Project,
yeah. Your view of the market at the moment? Because again, it's one of those things like, sure, do I just hold back? Because this whole uranium thing, it went, it stopped, it went, and it stops. And I know the price, the spot price, which people look at, knows the number, it's sort of regressed slightly. So how do you get the timing right of this thing? Why is it okay to go now?
Well, the fundamentals for uranium are just so strong.
Amazing. But they have been for a long time. That's my point.
Well, they have been. I think it's the market's only really caught up to that more recently. But obviously, things get quite heated. I'd say a bit overheated. A few months back. But those fundamentals are still there, and I think the outlook for uranium is very solid. And we've raised the funds to get on with the drilling, and I think some good intersections will be great for the company. I just see the uranium market now. It's probably a great buying opportunity for a lot of investors who didn't get in when the prices were a lot higher. And I've certainly been doing a bit of that myself. As a way, I think it's very exciting times. But so you've done all the kind of like surface work, we'll call it broadly. You're going to invest how many dollars or how many meters are you going after? So we've got the two projects, Strike and Murmac. We've budgeted an initial 2,500 meters at Strike. That's in 8 to 10 drill holes, and then about 2,000 meters at Murmac in also 8 holes. Now that program is going to run through the summer. We're starting at Strike, then we'll move to Murmac. We're going to be flexible results. It's going to be driven by results. So if we get some good activity or some intersections on a target area, we'll obviously perhaps continue with that. And that's the great thing about uranium. You don't need to wait for assays. You can get the real-time scintillometer data and move forward on that.
Right. And so give me the timing. You're working on this summer. Give me the timing. Is it going to be pre-PEA announcement that you're able to start putting this data out?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
throughout the summer, we'll have hopefully a steady flow of news from our uranium drilling. And that's, as I mentioned, we can release scintillometer results with assays later. They'll be happening throughout the summer, and then cap it off in the fall with a gold PEA.
Do you think people companies are getting the credit on the scintillometer stuff? It's a great indication. And you guys in this industry get super excited about it. When I speak to you all, it's like, this is very synonymous with what I saw elsewhere, and a great success story. Market, I'm not quite sure what it means, but if they're excited, I should be excited. And then it kind of fades off a bit because the assays take a while to come through. And that's the confirmatory bit.
That's right.
Right? So, again, how do we read into what should we be looking at? What's the important data that we need to get from you that we should be looking at to determine what success looks like?
Yeah, well, the assays are obviously the final confirmation of what is there, and it's going to give you the real grade. But scintillometer prospects been around forever. A lot of deposits, actually, you can do a resource on equivalent uranium that's been done in the past. But in terms of how those are measured, companies differ between on how they do it. I think things to look at is if you're getting high counts, certainly in the thousands up to, you can get up to 60,000 counts per second. That's often where these meters sort of max out. If you're getting those types of higher readings, normally anything above 10,000, that shows there's some high grades around. And then looking at the description of the core, hopefully there's some photos in there. And the geos, with the scintillometer and visual identification, you can normally see the uraninite. So that should give you an indication there's something there. And then, of course, it is waiting for the assays. You can go between different companies, see how they've reported it, look at their counts, but there's it's hard to benchmark exactly. But
I know, but that's the difficulty with me, right? I want to see come on here and go, right, I've drilled one hole, it's a discovery, okay? And I'm like going, how?
Yeah.
Okay, 6 kilometers of data, it's a discovery. I'm like, so that was one extreme.
Yeah.
Okay, over here. And forget it, we'll pass over the fact that, scintillometer, it seems to be in the last 2 years the way to report it. You see percentages from the assay. So that's what I'm saying. It's very difficult for people new to, well, even people who are used to the uranium space, but certainly for people who are not used to it, go, what the heck am I meant to look at, and what does it mean? So 10,000 is the magic number as far as you're concerned, is it?
And I'm just saying based on the general counts people report, and I followed those sort of things. But there's no correlation between what that is and a grade, but that would normally indicate there's some higher grade, mineralization in the core. The other thing about scintillometers is it's not just uranium. You can get high counts from both thorium and potassium too.
Right.
So companies should have a spectrometer, and that's often built into the scintillometer, where you can actually do an equivalent uranium assay. It's not something people would report. It's not very accurate, but it would basically just confirm that the source of the radioactivity is from uranium and not thorium and potassium. So you've got to that's something to watch out for. But companies should have that tackled through their QP and their disclosures.
Okay, so are you in the area of one hole equals one discovery camp, or
no?
Okay, come on, you've got a track record here. So why have you planned it this way? 2,500 meters and 2,000 meters on those assets. Why not go hard after one and really kind of get into it?
Yeah.
What's the steps that you're?
Well, we see potential on both projects, of course. They're getting great drill targets out of both of them. So we see opportunity to potentially test both, depending on the results. And at an early stage, it's also great to intersect mineralization, but sometimes you don't always get something on your first round of drilling. But what's important is to identify that you've got the right rock types, the graphite, you've got the structure, you perhaps see some alteration. So it's good to do, this is the initial recce type drilling. Of course, we have some really nice targets to chase where there's mineralization nearby. We have the EM, we have the gravity signatures, so that's going to be a focus for us. Yeah. And obviously with some results there, we continue to drill there. So it's flexible. We're not going to just stick to the 2,500, 2,000 meters. We'll be driven by results. But the point is we have lots of targets to test. I mean, we've got 12 kilometers of strike length at our Strike project, 12 kilometers of strike length at Murmac, and just lots to do. So we're going to pick away at what we feel are the best initial targets to chase and understand the geology better.
Because I guess all data is good data. Even if you're not hitting, it tells you something.
Of course.
So it's not a waste of money or failure in that sense. But given the mass that the extent of what you're chasing, so why is the EM the best way to identify or target it? You find a target. And what does that do in terms of chance of success? It means that like any other thing?
Yeah, so uranium's challenging. There's no direct method to detect uranium at depth. Yeah. So when you're exploring for Athabasca Basin deposits, you're looking for graphitic rocks. Those are the favorable host rocks. Right. So how you find those graphitic rocks is you do EM, because graphite's a conductor. So that maps your favorable target horizon. The next challenge is where along that do you test? Now, if you're in the basin, sometimes there's almost just systematic testing along these conductors. Right. Where gravity works really well. So that enables us to prioritize along the conductor and find the best possible targets at an early stage.
Okay, that's interesting. So it becomes more, it's a systematic approach. I'm trying to say, well, if I understand how people go hunting for precious metals and battery metals and so forth, but uranium has its own kind of code, as it were.
Correct.
Right. And do you find it can be easier, or is it more difficult?
It can be difficult, challenging, especially if, exploring deep in the Athabasca Basin through a lot of sandstone, and it's really led by the geophysics and drilling. So it's got its own, it's got its own set of unique criteria. And, I've been very fortunate to work with Denison Mines as their VP Exploration, where we discovered 2 of these high-grade basement deposits, exactly what we're looking at for Fortune Bay, and develop exploration models around those deposits, what to look for in terms of, the graphitic rocks, the structure, the geochemistry, the alteration. Yeah. So, with that knowledge, it's to apply it to what Fortune Bay has, gives you a good understanding of where to target and what to drill. Right.
We often say, we need all of the above. We need all the uranium we can find. Okay, so there's no competition, no favourite, no size or whatever. I've spent time in Africa where you have worked.
Yeah.
You've worked on a few projects there. What's the difference between those? And obviously, it's lower grade in Africa and higher grade in Athabasca, it's right. But in terms of the economics, what can they end up looking like? Are they comparable, or is it because high grade is always going to win?
Well, high grade doesn't always win, and we see that there's lots of discoveries in the Athabasca Basin which are still unmined today, and they're at high grades, and it's very challenging mining there. You've got if you've got an unconformity deposit, above you is this sandstone that's water saturated, so you need freezing or complicated mining methods. If you don't have a really big deposit at those depths below that sandstone, very hard to put in production, despite the high grades. Africa, you got much lower grades, orders of magnitude lower, but yet there are mines there, such as Rossing, Langer Heinrich, etc. And there it's obviously open pittable, cheaper mining methods, etc. What I like about what we have is we in these basement rocks, which are which are amenable to conventional mining, we can target high grade at shallow depths, and with the potential to mine them through open pits or underground methods without having to deal with that sandstone. So they're very sought after targets, these basement hosted deposits that we're chasing.
So you're still, because again, this is a debate between Canada. It can be difficult to get licenses and permits and all those sorts of things, and First Nations and so forth. And Africa, a little bit easier, but as you say, it's got its own difficulties too. So it swings and roundabouts, right? You have ended up in Canada at a choice. You weren't thinking, maybe Africa might be an easier bet for me, given my experience there, and being an African yourself.
Yes.
But how did you make that decision?
Well, my wife's Canadian.
Okay, well, end of discussion, right? There we go. Fine. No, but seriously.
Canada, I've thoroughly enjoyed my African experience exploring there, but Canada offers a lot of opportunities, in the mining sector, of course, just the sheer number of juniors that are based there and the ability to raise capital in those exchanges and deploy them globally. So I think, there was a really good step for me in terms of where I wanted to go career-wise, to move to Canada, get experience in a public company like Denison, cut my teeth with that Lundin Group, and then be able to branch out and do something with a smaller company like Fortune Bay, where I see there's, big upside.
Okay. Here in London, at the 1-to-1, so it's all great and swimming. Given the kind of retail nature of your register, are you starting to have more generalist conversations with generalist funds, institutional players, just trying to feel out who's who at the zoo, as it were?
Absolutely. Where we've come from as a company, it was really a small group that initially put money into Fortune Bay back in 2014, and then it was somewhat dormant. So we've come out of that. Some of the same shareholders have put new money in. We brought in some new shareholders when we raised in December, some of that with the interest in the uranium side. We're at a stage in the company where, you're absolutely right, we're looking to chat more to our institutional funds and get them to know our story, and as we go forward with our projects, be a source of capital for us.
Okay. Well, good luck with the rest of the trip, okay? Good to see you. Stay in touch. I like the story. Maybe come on and get a little bit technical once some of this drilling starts coming through.
Yeah, so look forward to the next one and giving you an update then.